Just wait for it to go live.
I've never done one of these before.
What?
I've never done one of these before.
You have done it.
Not this kind. Where
Okay, well, we're live now, so stop. You have to stop mumbling now and just be professional and like launch into it.
Okay.
It's happening.
But I'm hearing my voice in this.
Well, take one of your phone out.
Okay.
Okay, hi everyone. So hopefully everything should be live now, and yeah, thanks for joining us, me and Rachel. You might have noticed I'm not doing the usual psychedelic camper van thing today because there's two of us. The camera, this kind of software we used to put the background in, it just couldn't handle that there was two of us.
It was the opposite of what happened last time, wasn't it?
What happened? About you when you appeared opening the fridge? Yeah.
And it just picked me up when I was over there.
Yeah, so we just thought we'd show off the splendour of our messy kitchen in the background.
Just cover it up.
Well, cover up the kitchen. It'll be fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So yeah, just thought we'd do a stream because normally, or at least for like the past year or so, Rachel's not been here at this time. In fact, one of the reasons I started doing these regular live streams on a Sunday was because Rachel wasn't here, so I had no one to talk to. So. But yeah, because you've been doing some voluntary work, haven't you, for the last year? But that came to an end about a week ago. So
yeah,
I thought, hey, let's take the opportunity to have Rachel on. So we're going to go through a couple of things. We're going to do the usual stuff via Discord. So if anybody wants to have a chat or ask a question with either me or Rachel or both of us, or just share your own story, then you can do so on Discord. What you do, I'll just put the screenshot up. If you join this channel called Stream Calling, you can go there, you can listen to the audio, and there's a function there where you can raise your hand and ask to speak. And then what we can do is we can bring you up, and you can be like a presenter here with us, and we can have a live conversation. So if anyone wants to do that and wants got anything to ask us, then feel free to do that via Discord. The links to Discord are on the profile page on YouTube. So yeah, check that out if you want to have a chat. And I can see Crossroad Kid wants to have a chat, so we'll come to you in a bit, Crossroad Kid. Also, I did just notice in the YouTube text chat that it's somebody's birthday today. It's Matt at Mac's birthday. So Matt at Mac, happy birthday! I hope it's been a really good day for you, mate. Yeah, and I see everyone else wishing you happy birthday. So cool. I hope it's been a really good day for you. So stuffs we want to talk about. Got a couple of topics before we get into the sort of the callers and the questions and stuff like that. So first one. I thought I'd just reflect a bit, and we could have a bit of a chat about the video I put out recently on the kind of 30 days of DMT, and there was some questions or some comments that popped up there, and I just wanted to address a couple of them because there was one in particular that seems to really, rub some people the wrong way, which is not completely unsurprising. But basically, there's a part in that video where I refer to claims around unlocking psychic superpowers and that kind of things as juvenile bullshit. I think was probably the term that I used, and I would absolutely stand by that. But people were like,
could have been your phrasing.
I mean, how would you phrase it? What do you think, Rach? What's your take on unlocking hidden human potential via taking copious amounts of drugs?
Well,
or medicines.
I think I would be maybe just a little bit diplomatic on my phrasing, that's all, but I pretty much agree with you. No. Well,
I think that's why we're such a good couple, Rach, because I do the very blunt in your faceness and you do the diplomacy. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of the actual, because you've done as much of these kind of things as I've. Yes. You sat in these same kind of traditional circles. You've been through this whole kind of journey with me. So what obviously because I put my opinion out there a lot. So I think everyone pretty much knows where I stand, and I think I would completely concede that a lot of the way I present it, like as this is just bullshit, it can come across as quite confrontational and stuff like that. But yeah, what's your diplomatic view on it then?
So this is regarding unlocking like alien
unlocking superpowers.
Superpowers.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that I can see why people would think that, because obviously it doesn't need to be said really, but on many of these substances you do actually feel like you have superpowers, and I'll speak about my recent 5-MeO experience later on, but I did merge with God, and it was non-dual, it was just God, so therefore I was also God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you can totally understand why someone can come out of it and say I'm God.
Sure.
I think it just maybe takes some time to think about it and integrate it a bit more, and maybe even speak it through with someone in like an integration circle, or with a psychoanalyst or something like that, or just some people who are understanding about these substances and more experienced than yourself. I've got to admit, when I first started getting into these things, I became a bit of an evangelist, and was totally into a lot of things that I've drawn back on a bit now.
Yeah. Well, let me keep just put you back on the rails, because I mean there is a world of difference between the subjective experience of something extraordinary like believing you're God, and then the objective claim of, hey, I now have the ability X, Y, and Z, and this is kind of this was some of the pushback I was getting in these comments, and the simple sort of response I would have to that is like, if anyone can demonstrate some kind of superhuman ability, then go for it.
Prove it.
I will always try and go where the evidence is. So if someone starts, I mean, first of all, if anyone has ability, the one that typically gets referenced a lot is telepathy, and I think this is where people are unable to parse out the difference in being in a psychedelic experience and that subjective feeling of telepathy and boundary just being dissolved, and wow, this is all this extra dimensional amazingness, and objectively having telepathy. So I'll put this out there for anyone: if you objectively have telepathy, then just send me a message now, and I will I will announce that I'm wrong, okay? Because you're going to telepathically send me a message, and then I'll just say, I was wrong. Actually, superpowers do exist. Telepathy is real. Yeah, because I will receive it. Okay, let me just give it a minute. See if anyone. Is anything coming through? No, I think I'm good for the moment.
I don't hear anyone there.
No. So.
Although, I would say it also could be psychedelics. When you said like when you're on them, you do kind of have a sort of, I don't know how you would describe it, but at least a subjective experience of telepathy, especially when you're with someone close to you. Like you vibe with them. That's why in ayahuasca they don't want you to, the whole
energetic transfer.
Yeah. When you experience that, you might bring a little bit back with you as intuitive. I can't say this word. Intuitivity.
Intuitive? Is that even a word?
Intuition. When you speak 3 languages, you forget talking. That's my experience all the time.
It's because I speak 3 languages. I've just got too much language. Apologies for my language. I have too much of it.
But I would say there's a really good chance that these people who believe that they have some form of telepathy after these experiences actually have intuition. Similar to, remember, is it called Darren Brown? That guy who used to seem to be.
Yeah, it was like the psychic debunker.
Really good at reading people's faces, and I believe that could happen through psychedelics. You could improve on that.
Well, improve your intuitive abilities of.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I think a lot of that, particularly what Darren Brown does. I mean, the guy just like reeks of confidence, isn't it? He's like he's just like sort of reading people. He's got a lot of eye contact.
He reads people. He's told about how he does it, hasn't he? He said he'll read like micro expressions and things, and but he can tell what people's thinking in that way.
Well, he can tell where people are going. He's like looking for tells and stuff. But I think that in itself is the ability to be comfortable enough to be able to look, because this is something a lot of people don't do, is have like sort of good eye contact and stuff like that, and become really comfortable like watching people's faces and expressions and stuff. And Darren Brown just you get some people, like cult leaders are very good at this. They just transfix you, and then they're just going to completely
Eye
read you.
contact, man, is a powerful thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Really, really powerful thing.
But it's not telepathy, I don't think so. Yeah. We're going on Darren Brown. We're not sponsored by Darren Brown, although we love Darren Brown. I think he's awesome. But so it's. I don't believe there is an example of telepathy, and I don't believe that the kind of boundary dissolution stuff that you get within a psychedelic experience is a superpower. It's an extraordinary, amazing experience. So I'm not downplaying what a amazing thing it is, but it's not a superpower. If there's no one's going to make Marvel is never going to make a film about just someone being off their tits on ayahuasca. That's not a superpower. That's not part of the Marvel cinematic universe, right? These are in fact, I would say that they're opposites of superpowers. These are extremely natural parts of our human experience, that we are sort of accessing via these substances. So there's nothing, again, and maybe this is just my definition of what a superpower is, but yeah. No, I don't think there's any examples of superpowers out there. But what you just said, when we're talking about the boundary dissolution thing, I think this is kind of segues nicely into our sort of next topic, because some of the stuff, a lot of the comments that I get asked, or that we get asked, I should say, in the comments, are about what's it like doing these things. Excuse me, I'm drinking this really fizzy ginger beer. It's going to make me burp. So,
and I'm drinking Coca-Cola.
We're also not sponsored by Coca-Cola.
You may have seen me on previous live streams with the top on. I don't know what happened to that. No, I do remember what happened to that. I think I smashed blood all over it on an accident. Okay.
Well, let's talk about that little part briefly. So, just in case anyone's wondering.
My teeth.
Yeah. So if anyone's wondering if there's anything a little bit strange about Rachel's voice, Rachel had an accident just before Christmas where you had a really bad fall.
Yeah.
And as a result of that fall, you've lost a few fangy pegs.
I only have 23 teeth. You can see a big gap here.
Okay.
That's one. It affects the way I speak. Apparently, some people think I'm slurring my words or whatever, but.
It's a string of words.
Yeah, I had to have some of them taken out, and I've got a lot of dental work to do, and I've still got some ongoing.
Yeah, so you've been like back at the dentist every couple of weeks and just having
at the time I ruined my beautiful white Coca-Cola top because I need stitches in my face. All the blood just didn't come out, and I had to throw that away. And I had concussion for 2 weeks, so that was fucking awesome.
Yeah. But I think, the main thing is it was a Coca-Cola top. That's the main part of that story. It was all about the Coca-Cola top. Anyway, nothing to do with your face and your teeth and your health.
I keep digressing all our conversations.
Right, yeah. Let's get back to us being a couple taking mind-bending chemicals together.
So what were we on about before I started butting in about my Coca-Cola? It was your fault burping on the beer, on ginger beer. Yeah.
It was definitely my fault. We were on about like the sort of the boundary dissolution thing, and I think the way I'd want to package this up is maybe we could do like a sort of the good, the bad, and the ugly about being a couple, having these kind of psychedelic experiences together. Like, sort of, what are the sort of like super awesome fun bits? What are maybe the not so fun bits, and what are just the outright weird bits? And like, sort of, because I've had people sort of ask me about it. It's certainly cropped up a few times with people talking around going on things like retreats together, and obviously we've done all this and we've got our own opinions about it.
Yeah.
But also just some of our, what's been going on recently with you and me and our own sort of journeys, and we can sort of segue into that later on.
Okay.
So, what would you say is like the best bit about doing psychedelics as a couple?
Now that would depend on whether we're talking about in a retreat setting or in a recreational setting.
Doesn't matter. You just give it you pick one and riff off it.
Well, I guess the best part is when you are both on a similar vibe.
Okay, just one little thing. Camera's there, sweetheart. So try not to look down here. Look at the people.
Sorry,
the people are right there. Say hello,
hi, people.
Hello, people. And this is like a little window into their houses. You can look at it there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not used to doing this. Okay, so I would say that the best part of doing psychedelics as a couple is when, and you don't get to choose when this happens, but when you vibe together, when you're both on the same vibe. For example, on say doing mushrooms at home, and you're just bouncing off each other, doing banter and things, you know, and you just can't stop making each other laugh. And obviously, with if you're with a romantic or sexual partner, then that part is also definitely one of the best parts of doing psychedelics together.
Because you're also bouncing off each other.
And similar, I could say the same similarly for you know, the when you're doing serious work in a retreat setting. That is primarily though during after the work, because obviously you've got to stick with, you know, stay in your own experience while you're doing it. But you know, once it's sort of wearing off and everyone's starting to eat fruit and get up and stuff, and if you've both had a similar vibe, and that is just amazing to be able to sit and talk about it and cuddle and feed each other fruit and everything. It's just so good.
Yeah, there was when I was on my last retreat in Peru, and this is in September, and I was there on my own, and there was a couple there, and there was a couple that were from England, and they were really sweet. They were such just a really together, cute couple, and I was in the mat on the mat next to them. And at the end of the ceremonies, they come over to you and they were just so huggy. And I think those were the points where I really missed you the most. And this couple, they would just have these complete like blue sky conversations about like quantum mechanics and universe. And I was just sat there, I was just sat there in my own world, just kind of listening to them, like, wow, it would be so cool to be having this experience as a couple and this. And so I really miss that bit. I think if I was going to answer like what's the best bit of, and it's kind of like a flippant answer, but the best bit about being couple doing psychedelics together, it's sex.
I already mentioned that one.
I know. You totally stole my punchline.
Sorry,
but it is just amazing.
And obviously that doesn't happen on retreats. So
obviously not.
Well, not during ceremony anyway.
Well, not during ceremony, no. You don't just start
and you're not supposed to.
I know, but you know, we did. You know, what are you gonna do? We did. But I mean, I just want to like sort of go into that. I know I'm trying to be like shocking or something here, but I'm not, because you know, sex is something we all do. We're all grown-ups in here. We all do things. But that. The connection and that dissolving of each other, in the same way that your senses dissolve into like music and taste and stuff like that.
Excuse me, I need to butt in here. I'm sorry.
You're gonna butt in?
I'm gonna butt in.
Okay then.
I really need to butt in because, in my opinion, I mean, I don't know because I've not tried it. Well, actually, I have. Yes, I have in my early days when I used to take LSD and stuff. I would say this is only the case if it's in a love situation, if you're making love, so to speak.
That's a really
not
good point.
just casual sex. That will not be the same.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a very good caveat, and I would totally agree in that. Yeah, in fact, I would probably say the opposite is true.
Definitely.
Like, casual sex on mind-bending psychedelics.
No.
Leave you.
I've had horrific experiences on that.
Because I think, I mean, it's the same methodology though, isn't it? Because basically what you're doing is you are throwing yourself to be completely open. And I think, and this is one thing, I don't think you realise how much this is happening when you're a kid. You don't realise the potential for this.
Yes.
You're just thinking, oh, it's a bit weird and wacky.
We're just on drugs and it's funny.
But when you, in that same way that opening yourself completely and then having sort of casual sex with a partner who you don't necessarily know, and it sort of can go all sorts of weird ways, then that could be that could go in a bad direction.
Even if they're a really nice person and the sex is good, it's just this what we're talking about will not apply to that.
Yeah,
only applies to if you're in a relationship or you care about someone.
Well, I just can't imagine anybody else outside of you, Rich. That's it. So I'm just stuck on one paradigm, you know.
Anyway, back to what you were saying. So
So I was talking about like the blending of sensation, which happens to the individual, then happens across the couple, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's a lot of it is not just, obviously a lot of it is the physical sensation of sex, but a lot of it is the emotional bonding too. The emotional,
the experiential, everything. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll put this topic on hold for a minute. We're gonna come back to it. We'll table it. Rachel's learned a new phrase recently about tabling things. Okay. So we'll come back to it, but someone's had the hand up for us. So the Crossroad Kid. So I shall invite Crossroad Kid up to speak, and you should get an invitation there, mate, and you should be able to click on your Discord and come on up. Or maybe what? Maybe they'll never work it out and they'll just be stuck forever in limbo. Who knows?
What happens with them?
Right, what you do is you press this button. And
I do.
No, I do. Well, you can do it. Press that button which says invite to speak. And then they have to accept the invitation. So there's like a thing at the top, Crossroad Kid, where you have to say, yes, I accept. And if you don't do it, you'll never get the chance, mate. This is it.
You've got to accept, Crossroad Kid. Come on,
it's
accept.
just dwindle away. But somebody else has also raised their hand, so we can go to that one. And then
you can do it twice.
Well, you can have everybody in this Discord could come up and chat all at the same time. It would be like this noise, but they could do it. But okay, let's go to Norman Loomy. In the meantime, oops, wrong button. That one. So Norman Loomy. Oh, there you go.
Oh, here we go.
Can you
hear me, mate?
I'm doing alright, and you?
Yeah, not bad. It's Lee from we went on the retreat together, right?
Oh, right there. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad, buddy. Not bad at all. How about you?
Yeah, we can't complain too much. But it's been a while, so I'll just give the audience a bit of background. So, yeah, Lee and I, we did an ayahuasca retreat in Spain with Ayahuasca Spirit. And so this was, what was it, mate? Was it about 2 or 3 years ago now or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so this is one of the ones where the shaman Wheeler, who's someone I work with a lot in Peru, he came over to Spain and was doing some retreats. So it's not been happening while this whole pandemic thing's been going on. So I'm hoping they're going to pick up and do that again sometime soon, because it was great. But it's awesome to hear from you again, mate. So what have you been up to in the meantime?
Likewise. Awesome to chat to you as well, mate. I went back to Ayahuasca Spirit one time, in fact, because I think you were going the week after or something, but you had some problems, didn't you?
Yeah. I ended up. Yeah, I was going to. I was supposed to be flying out for a treat, and I ended up having a seizure on the plane on the way out, and so it completely derailed that plan. But yeah, how was that second retreat for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was a private one, so I scared the hell out of myself on the first night. Yeah. Didn't drink the second night, but still attended the ceremony, and it was funny because. No, I didn't drink. I was just sitting there thinking. But that night, I started getting a load of flashbacks. It was almost like I felt like the ceremony was effective, even though I didn't drink the medicine.
Yeah, it can happen, mate. Yeah,
we've both sat in retreats, ceremonies, haven't we? When there's no drinking.
Yeah.
You still feel it.
Yeah. And I did the third night, so I drank 2 nights out of 3. Just like to say, Rachel, you sound fine, by the way. To me, you sound exactly the same as you do.
Some people say I do, some others don't, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and not only have you got a lovely voice, but you speak more languages than Rob, so you're a lot more classy and all that stuff.
She's definitely more classy than me. I mean, I think that's how we divide up the responsibilities between us, isn't it? I'm the blunt one. I sort of get stuff done and have the arguments with people, and Rachel's
you're a fantastic team, lovely couple.
Oh, cheers,
yeah. What I want to say to you, Rob, because I can't remember if I mentioned it to you before, but I smoked it. You're talking about the superpowers, okay? And I'm not going to claim any superpowers, but just a weird experience I had with DMT, and I can't remember if I mentioned it to you when we were on retreat, because it had already happened to me. Mm-hmm. But I smoked it one time, and I got this sort of, no visions, but just this energy rush feeling up my body, and you know how realistic all these things feel. Mm-hmm. And it stopped at one point on my left lower jaw, and it's just like it's stuck there, and then it's as if it burst through, and it sounded like a cork, and then rushed to the top of my head. Mm-hmm. Well, 2 days the next day after that, my gum, exactly where that happened, was red hot. 2 days later, I had like a perforation in my gum, mm-hmm. and I ended up basically by the end of the week, I went to see the dentist. And he's saying, you've got a perforated gum, you've got to stop touching it with your tongue because it's not going to heal up. But it was sharp. And what happened was, a little bit over a week later, a small piece of, it was either jaw or tooth, ejected out of the gum there. Mm-hmm. Presumably something from some old dental work years earlier. But to me, it's just such a massive coincidence that I had that sensation right there, and then suddenly that happened. So I don't know. I just
can I offer an opinion on that, Lee? So and again, I think that a lot of this comes into this kind of like definition of superpowers and stuff like that. So again, I want to be kind of clear when I'm talking about superpowers. I'm talking about people unlocking psychic powers like telepathy or the ability to do things over distance. You know, like we're talking X-Men sort of stuff. So I think what you're describing, I think, is actually something completely natural and completely normal. So my viewpoint on what's happening with these substances, and I'm not, when I say like there's no superpowers, I'm not downplaying these substances. I mean, you of all people, Lee, know how much I'm an advocate and believe in the power of these substances. So what I think is going on there is that you basically, your body knows what is going on with it. So you're saying that you had an injury that you, Lee, consciously were unaware of, but subconsciously your body knows there is something wrong, right? You've got this thing lodged in your face, and when you don't have this DMT experience and you are blending your consciousness with the subconscious, all of it comes to the forefront, and you are getting the message, hey, there's something wrong here. It's telling you there's something, and you are having an inward journey, and you are being able to listen to what your body's going on. And what you're describing is very common. So you hear people hearing about, hey, you need to, something's going on. There's a pain here that you're unaware of. You need to pay attention to
we know someone personally, don't we, who had.
Are you still there, Rob?
Yeah, I'm still. Can you hear us, mate?
Yeah, I had almost all of that. It just cut out at the very last second. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I wasn't trying to claim superpower. We're on the exact same page, but it was something that was slightly out of the norm. So it didn't come out because I was rubbing my tongue on it. It just came out spontaneously. And obviously, I don't think my body would have done that. But it seems sort of incidental, the experience I had that happened. So
it is interesting that the DMT kind of warned that of you before the event.
Yeah, like I said,
we do know someone who's had a similar experience with, shall we say, gyno issues.
Yeah. So like having cancerous sort of tumours, and pretty much exactly what you just described, Lee, in that they had an experience. I think this is with ayahuasca, and it was telling them that they had something foreign inside them that they needed to get out. And then after they sort of came out of the experience, they passing through the lady bits, like chunks of meat, like basically they started passing out these tumours. They started detaching from her body. Anyway, she had to go to hospital. But yeah, it was the idea that she knew this was coming and that there was something that was foreign inside of that needed to come out.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's just this inner connection, this sort of expanded knowing of ourselves that kind of allows something like that. So yeah, I think this is what psychedelics do. I think it's one of the reasons why they're so incredible, mate.
Yeah, there's one more thing I'd like to discuss with you, but I know it's Crossroad Kids Way, so it's up to you, mate. I'm quite happy to have
mate, go for it.
Okay, so this is one that our friend Martin Ball has mentioned. He talks about when people are doing 5-MeO, he says if they've got an asymmetry in their stance or their body, or they suddenly go asymmetrical, that he identifies that with a problem and tries to sort of put their body symmetrical again. I had an experience before I'd ever heard of any of that, where basically I smoked the DMT. Suddenly my head did a sharp left turn, like intra. I mean, I could have stopped it, which that sort of stuff doesn't bother me, so I wasn't worried that my head had turned on its own, inverted commas. Yeah. But then suddenly I felt this incredible fear. I've never felt anything like it in my life. And it just sort of rang a bell with what he was saying about if you get this asymmetry, that can cause you like problems. So I just wondered if you'd either of you guys had experienced anything like that, if you had any experience with it.
Yeah, so I'm aware of Martin's sort of ideas around that. I think he details it in his book, Entheogenic Liberation, I think it's called. And yeah, it's interesting you mention this because we're going to talk about this later, because Rachel's had some recent 5-MeO experiences, and I actually implemented that sort of thinking in that trying to sort of keep her sort of aligned as it goes through this experience. So I'll just expand a little bit on what I'm talking about and sort of gesture for the people who might be listening. So this is when you do something like 5-MeO DMT, and that Martin Ball's theory is that rather than sort of just kind of flopping around on the mat and sort of doing this, that will not be conducive to a sort of an effective experience. That it's better if you have a more symmetrical like sort of literal physical positioning. So something like if you're in like the lotus position or something like that, or if you just even if you're just lying flat, but you're whatever's happening on one side of your body is happening on the other. This is more sort of conducive to having a sort of a better experience, a more grounded experience. And I actually think there's some truth in this, because if you see people sort of like rolling around on the mat or on the bed and like that, these people are often having a turbulent experience. You can see it. Yeah. It's a physically turbulent experience. Whereas someone who's in a rested kind of like almost like a yoga pose, or just lying still, you can see they're having a more restful experience, and that's usually what's reflected in what's going on in their heads. So I do think Martin's onto something here. And when you were having sort of your 5-year experiences, there's a few bits, and this is not doing anything forceful, by the way. I just want to make clear. So this is not, if someone's having a sort of a turbulence experience, this is not grabbing hold of their limbs and straightening them out and pinning them down. That would be a bad thing. But just gently, like if someone's lying there, sort of say like this, just gently, just sort of like move their arms into like a symmetrical, or put their hands on the chest or something like that. Or if
like one of my knees went up, you gently pick it up and put it straight.
Yeah. So yeah, Matt, I think there's something in that, and we'll probably go into it. I think Rachel.
I do want to talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very biggie.
Yeah. So if you stay tuned, mate, we'll go into it in a bit more detail.
Stay tuned. If I could get one more tiny question, and I just want.
Go for it, dude.
You did your recent, which was really well produced, by the way, your last DMT trip with the Vaporwasca. I thought it was brilliant, especially the way you led into the trip. It's like, wait a minute, did I stop tripping yet? I love that.
Well, that ties a bit back into what you were saying before about just, even having not taken something. Because as I was making that video, and as I was like reminiscing, like, yeah, what did happen? You kind of start remembering these things, and it's like, you do have these callbacks to it. So yeah, it's
smoked it, and then because I always wondered if I broken through, and I don't know that I ever had, but I smoked it one time, and I was like wherever I was, and I thought, yeah, course you have. And it's like I was remembering stuff. I don't know if it's a real memory, but it's like I remembered stuff that I never knew before from when I was tripping previously, supposedly. So I don't know. But the question was, there was this bit where you said, like, part of you is partitioned off and is sort of lying on your bed saying, is this working or not? And then part of you's in the Buddha experience. So I don't know, can you explain, is there any way you can explain that a bit more? Like, did part of you really not know that part was tripping, or what?
It was, I think... It wasn't as clean cut of what I was kind of showing in the video, obviously, because these experiences are almost impossible to do it. But I distinctly remember having that thought of, just as one part of me. I smoked the DMT and I just started completely tripping out on it. So I knew I was tripping out, and then I just had this moment of like, oh, is it happening yet? And I remember staring around the room. And just thinking, oh, is anything going on here? Like, and I remember I was confused. It's like I'd forgotten that I'd smoked DMT and was already having the experience. And then it kind of did this weird kind of merging-y, glitchy thing. So as best as I can describe it, that is pretty much what happened. And I just remember being, kind of having this moment of complete confusion. It's like I'd forgotten I'd smoked DMT. For it was very weird.
Fascinating, really.
Yeah. So I've that partitioning thing I've had quite a few times, and I don't think it's particularly uncommon, to be honest.
I've had it too.
Yeah, a lot of people talk around experiencing like parallel timelines within like a DMT experience. So it's just that's the first time I kind of really paid attention to it. I think within that kind of those 30 days thing, because I got the chance to kind of notice it much more. So yeah, mate, as good as I could describe it, that is what went down.
All right, fantastic. Thanks so much. Are you going back to ayahuasca Spirit? I don't even know if they've opened back up yet post COVID.
To my knowledge, they've not yet opened back up. at the moment, the only retreat I've got planned in is I'm going back to Peru in the beginning of June. But yeah, I mean, for sure, if Ayahuasca Spirit open up again in Spain, I would be back there at some point, because I mean, I've absolutely love Wheeler and Tamara. I thought that was, very convenient location for it to have like these traditional ceremonies just on your doorstep in Spain. So yeah, I would definitely go back to Ayahuasca Spirit, but so far they've not announced anything. So
I'd like to try too.
Awesome, pretty cool.
Don't know all the transatlantic flights, but I'd really like to try that.
Okay, don't whisper.
Okay, sorry.
All right, thanks so much, guys. You're a class act, the pair of you.
Cheers, Lee.
Thanks.
Yeah, take it easy.
Take it easy, mate.
Bye.
Okay. So, right, if there's anybody else who wants to come and have a chat and share a story, then feel free to press the button to raise your hand on the Discord, or if you're not on the Discord, then come here. Rachel's passing me post-it notes with the notes. I know, I've not forgotten you, sweetheart.
Oh, have you got some professional notes or something?
Yeah, I've got proper notes because I'm a professional.
I've just wrote them.
You don't need to pass me little post-its, Rach. How many post-its have you got?
No, those are not all of them.
Oh,
There's just that one there.
Okay. I'll just have a quick look in the YouTube comments if there's any questions that have popped up here. And then we'll get back to your post-it notes. So don't you worry about these post-it notes, sweetheart. We'll get it covered. Let's see. Is there any question?
I like how you meow all the way through.
Yeah, you've got to make meow noises. Otherwise, the audience have just got nothing to listen to if you don't go meow, 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 meow. Meow. Do you want to meow?
Meow.
Okay, that's good. Okay, I think it's like we're just talking to each other, so that's all right.
That's pretty cool. I like it when you guys talk to each other.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good sense of community and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll come back. We'll come back to what were we on about? So we were on about coupley stuff. We were on about shagging on drugs. What else were we on about? Boundary dissolution.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I guess we were doing like the good, the bad, and the ugly thing, weren't we?
Yeah, so we've spoken about the good.
So what's the bad then?
The bad. I would say the bad is mostly. So I'll take one of these earphones out. Okay. In my own voice. I would say the bad aspects of doing psychedelics together as a couple are definitely when both members of the same couple have completely different experiences to go through, and not just one ceremony by one ceremony. And this tends to apply mainly to the retreat type setting, not so much the recreational setting. And it's when one of you has like a massive breakthrough and illumination and blah blah blah, and the other one just has a terrible, horrible time and a mind fuck, and
that's usually me.
Sometimes it's the other way around.
I know it is, yeah.
But yeah, that can be really difficult for both parties, and because we've both been on both sides, we can both understand it. For the person who is having a great time, first of all, there's an element of guilt there. Feeling like upset that your partner can't be there with you, and then you can't share your joy with them because it's like not fair. Second part is that you want to care for that. It's and I've been told by facilitators, you really got to step back, and this is why they encourage you not to sit on the same mats close to each other. You got to step back and let them go through it. This is how they work through their problems. But the temptation, especially when you're in love with someone, is to try to comfort them, try to help them through it, and you're not trained to do that, so it makes things really stilted and difficult. And for the person who's having the bad time, then I guess there are some feelings. There's slight feelings of jealousy there, and the feelings of loneliness and being misunderstood, and it can be.
We've had all of that on.
We've both had both experiences. So.
Yeah, we've just been, and there's ones where we felt like completely out of alignment with each other, and at that point, the thing which is most simple, or which you sort of think is most simple, which is your relationship with each other and the kind of like the love you have for each other, actually becomes the most complicated thing there, because it's kind of like another object within all these objects of yourself, and it just can get very, like I say, it can conjure up all kinds of things. So I would agree that would definitely be the bad of being a psychedelic couple.
And then the other thing that we spoke about earlier was the whole on a more, how do you say, holistic level. So not just during the retreat or the trip or whatever, but just life in general. When two of you are on different paths or at different phases on your path, on your journey, that can lead to, how would you phrase that?
Well, I guess I would have put this under this. If we was doing like sort of like the good, the bad, and the weird, I think this is part of like the kind of the weird, isn't it? But I think it's actually a kind of like a fairly normal thing. If you think about relationships in general, you do go through phases where you're just out of alignment with each other. So usually you meet at some point. Perhaps you go into nightclubs together and stuff like that. But at some point, somebody's going to get pissed off with that experience and start wanting maybe something different. At some point, sometimes ladies get pregnant, and at that point they're out of action for several years because they don't want to do any of these things.
I did want to, I just couldn't.
Be honest, I did it for both of us, love.
I know you did. I watched you.
But you know what I mean? So there's all these points of being out of alignment. But then I think, when we started getting into all this kind of psychedelic stuff, we were very much on the same page at first. We were sort of like doing DMT together, we were doing psilocybin together, LSD together, all San Pedro, all these things. And then we've kind of diverged this last couple of years, because I've really gone sort of balls deep into all this ayahuasca stuff, and you kind of moved away from that and moved more towards San Pedro, which I've sort of dipped into, but that was kind of always been the more you thing.
Yeah.
And then more recently, you sort of, the two things actually got into sort of more recently. So which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, I'll mention the quickest one first. I'll just go back to the 5-MeO that I've done recently. So there is a video on this channel of me having my first 5-MeO experience. And that was just experimental, really. It was great. It was awesome. Everything I said it was on the video. However, this recent one was a lot more serious. As some of you know, I'm recovering from anorexia, and I, from time to time, have very down days. And this was one of such. And Rob found me by the lake feeding the ducks, crying behind my sunglasses, didn't you, one day? And asked me what he could do to help, and I thought, I think I need something really. I think I need to do something quite radical. Can
I just interrupt, because I had a thought before about this, and I thought it was a kind of interesting. So I'll just get out quick, and I don't want to derail your story too much, but I've talked a lot in my videos recently about how DMT is a narrative experience. In fact, I did this. It was in the video where I was talking. It was like I was putting some counter arguments to Martin Ball's thing about 5-MeO being the best sort of substance ever. And my kind of say was it's one of a series of best substances ever. I think they're all equally good in different ways. But the kind of the interesting bit there, I thought, which I think really ties back to you and your particular circumstance, is I describe DMT as this just bombastic narrative journey. It just unfolds imagination before your eyes and sort of allows you to sort of incorporate that into your own story. 5-MeO DMT does the opposite. It collapses that story down into nothing, into oneness, into this perfect sort of unity. Yeah. Now, I think the interesting thing about you and your situation is that I think and perhaps this is why 5-MeO DMT has worked better for you than DMT has. It's because you, I mean, if to put it in, hopefully not in a disrespectful way, but Rachel is lost in the narrative of Rachel having anorexia.
Yeah.
And so the kind of the narrative story, the sort of, that story that you tell yourself around being thin and sort of, and having, that's kind of run away with itself. So DMT is possibly not the right substance for that, because that kind of encourages that. Sorry,
it doesn't encourage it; just doesn't do anything for it.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Whereas 5-MeO is collapsing that story.
Yeah, and I would say that back to the experience. I had 2 experiences, so I took this very seriously. I took a much larger dose than the one I took in the videos.
She was a boss, yeah.
Yeah, it lasted 40 minutes. I was out.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to say, first time I was foaming at the mouth and shit. Like,
yeah.
I really went for
sexy.
it because I was terrified. I mean, I didn't, obviously, but I just was so desperate to get something out of this. And I did. I got something out of it after, 8 fucking years. My very, very first ayahuasca experience, 8 years ago, I think. I went in there like a lot of people do on the first time with this laundry list of help me with this, here you go, and then like ayahuasca just looks at it and rips it up and
like it's a vending machine that just dispenses healings.
So, no. Your first lesson, you've got to love yourself, and that's it. That was you said you got one lesson, love yourself. Okay, and I've never been able to do it. I've been working on it for 8. Well, I'm getting there, but I'm working on that. My second of these 5-MeO experiences, I finally felt it for the first time in my whole life.
So I
loved Rachel.
So Rachel loved Rachel.
Yeah. When I saw who Rachel is with all the bullshit stripped away, bullshit include I don't mean to say this disrespectfully to other people who are suffering from this thing, but I mean all the you know what I mean.
I don't think we do.
When I said all the bullshit like anorexia and
I mean I think I don't
want to offend anyone who's suffering from the same thing.
I don't think anyone would be offended by saying anorexia, like eating disorders are not favourable.
Yeah, it's just because I've been suffering with it for 30 years and I don't use the greatest language to describe it. It's not my favourite thing. Anyway.
Yeah, me neither.
Anyway, so with all that stripped away, and I saw the pure Rachel, the pure essence of Rachel, I loved her. And I felt it, I really felt it viscerally. And it felt completely the same as the love I feel for my children, which I just cannot describe. There is no love like a mother's love for a child. And I felt that for myself, and that is really something. Really, really something.
I'm getting jelly now, because what about me? What was love for me?
It's a different type.
I know, I'm on a plane, sweetheart.
But
playing for the laughs, innit?
I mean, also maybe that was the type I needed, because there's a whole lot, in a child thing, who needs a mother's love. Like I had mother's love for myself, Not that my mum doesn't, my real mum, actual mum doesn't love me or anything, but
But I think the thing with you was that you've always had this issue around your, I think, transition from being the child to being the woman, the mother, And I think this is a big part of, anorexia is kind of like locking you into this child's physique and keeping you small and sort of
behavior as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before my psychoanalysis, that's that fucking word. Before I had my psychoanalysis, my analyst used to tell me that I behaved incredibly childishly.
She did. She does.
And I still do to an extent. I know I've made some great progress on there, but I don't want to digress too much, because the other thing I wanted to get into was really, I think a lot of your listeners will really want to talk about this. Okay, well let's come back. You can't talk about it.
I know. So let's come back to it. But there is somebody who wants to have a chat. So,
all right.
So let's do this one first, and then we'll come back to the very thing that we're talking. We're supposed to know what it's supposed to know.
Yeah.
So let's do Anthony. And Anthony, you should have an invitation to speak, mate. Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
I'm sorry. Okay. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you clear.
Hi, Rob.
Hey, mate.
And Rachel, of course. I love both of your T-shirts. Of course,
Thank you.
or yours. But yeah. I
So-
have one question. The technical question in the beginning.
Sure,
because
go for
the
it.
Seems very lagged and behind the audio on Discord.
Mhm.
Do you think that could be maybe in somewhere in the future changed? Because sometimes like it becomes very tricky to find when you know
So
when you call
sorry.
me out and when
So sorry. What was the question, mate? That it's too loud on Discord? Or?
yeah Discord is going much earlier than the video.
Oh,
Oh, the lag, right? Yeah, yeah. I've got no way around that at the moment. I think the only way I would be able to sort of get around that is if I have thought about doing this, is moved this particular format to a more dedicated streaming thing, so something like Twitch.
Yeah.
Right.
So something like that. But yeah, basically what we're doing here is having two different platforms in sync. So we've got YouTube doing the sort of video streaming part and sort of Discord facilitating the calling bit. Yeah, I mean, I
totally
Get a Twitch.
don't know. I mean, it would just require sort of doing some, doing some piggling around with different. Oh, is everyone still there? Oh,
What are you doing?
I'm not doing nothing. You still there? Hello.
yeah, I'm still here.
I know. It's just my Discord's just spazzed out because I think someone's trying to send me messages and stuff. So yeah, so basically, it's just the technical challenges of trying to keep two different things in sync.
Yeah, okay, that's no problem. I was just asking. It would be always nice to to see your face when we talk in the real time. But
Yeah. I think
matter.
I think the best way of doing it is just that. Yeah, if you're having the conversation, just ignore the YouTube part really, and just sort of treat it like a
that's
phone
what
call.
I'm doing right now. Yes. Okay. So my first question is I was the guy who told you to read the Star Maker, and you just started reading it right away. I'm really curious. Did you like it?
I did, mate. Yeah, and I've actually not finished it because I got derailed into another book.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I need to go back and finish it. But yeah, I actually found it pretty fascinating, and it was actually one of the things that motivated me. Or maybe my memory might get a bit blurry here, but it tied a lot into the conversation that I had with Curtis Childs, which was I put out a couple of months ago now.
Yeah, right.
Because I think the gist of this book that you told me through, this book called Star Maker, which of the part that I've read so far I would definitely recommend, is basically somebody just going about their ordinary life and then having an extraordinary experience, and something which I think most people who've had psychedelics will be able to relate to this experience of just suddenly being whisked away through the cosmos and basically having to deal with it. And I think that's what I really liked about the book. It was like there was a big section on it, a few chapters, where it's basically just this person finding themselves completely adrift amongst the cosmos, and just like and I say stuff like this in my own videos, like in a much cruder way, like, what do I do now? Like, what the fuck do I do now? Like, okay, so I'm seeing the universe all around me, and it's like, what do I do? Like, I'm, and I thought that was that was an incredible description of that experience. So I will definitely get around to finishing it, I promise.
Well, I have a spoiler alert for you. It only gets worse. So well, in a good way.
I mean, I read the outline of it when you made the recommendation. So I've got a kind of
it really puts you in that. I don't know. For me, it was just creating this very cosmic feeling. Just of the vastness of everything was.
Yeah, well, I think the bit where I got up to was, I think it just sort of got to the part where he was starting to have a sort of dialogue with like the kind of like the Star Maker person, like the Star Maker entity kind of thing. So, and I think, and this kind of tied in a lot to, I think, what I described in my ayahuasca video, the one from Peru, where basically we're just being in communion with, just beings of infinite power, and just we're creating universes with the wave of a hand, and this kind of like infinite creativity and infinite ability to manifest that creativity. And
Star makers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, star makers, like universe makers, existence makers. And so I think that book, to me, again, what I've read of it so far, is very much, to me, like this kind of psychedelic narrative. And again, I thought it was interesting in that it also seemed to tie into what this Swedenborg character, who was this kind of like religious mystic, his experiences also talked a lot around this stuff. So it seems there's something in these experiences that people are having them, psychedelics or not, where that people are dialing into them.
I'm sorry, but oh, you mean the guy that he was talking about? Because the guy himself, he didn't have experiences.
He never had these experiences. He was a student of someone who had that experience. Right. But even the guy who he was a student of, this Emanuel Swedenborg, he, as far as we know, he wasn't taking psychedelics or something. He was just having religious mystical experiences. I say just having, that sounds a bit derogatory, but he was having religious mystical experiences. And again, they're very similar to what you would describe on DMT or what's described in that Star Maker book. So it's. I
think from my personal experience, because I've had couple, I wouldn't call it religious experience or anything like that, but about the, the sober, when you have the sleep paralysis and you have the OBE phenomenon, you go out of your body basically, or maybe just a lucid dream. I guess they may be just the same thing. So yes, I mean, these things don't seem psychedelic to me at all, because they have a clear, the visions are clear. There is no psychedelic circus to it, there is no multidimensionality, there is no craziness going on. It has more of the religious, the religious style rather than psychedelic, where you go in heaven, I mean, I didn't go in heaven, but but even when you go out of your body or something like that, it's pretty clear. Walls are walls. The entity is like a single entity. There is no fractal geometry going everywhere, and the tapestry is talking to you with like omelets made of mortality and stuff like that. There's nothing of that.
Well, I think, I've said this a few times in my videos, I think a psychedelic experience is different to a spiritual experience. I think you can have these things together. Excuse me, I'm burping.
Well, I guess psychedelic experience, I mean, to me, it can be, spiritual. What is spiritual anyway? Let's leave it.
Well, it's a
you have a video on that, don't you?
I do have a video of that. Yeah, I'll link that. But basically, I think
closest.
It's
what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a state. It's a state of being. So it's kind of like love or anger even. It's obviously those are emotional states.
Exactly.
Would you say is love an emotional? Because it's a state of being, I think, isn't it? When you're in love with someone. Yeah.
Well, but isn't joy, isn't depression also?
Well, I would say joy is definitely...
love is an experience.
But yeah, and like depression, I'd say could also be an experience. It's
a state of being you are in.
Yeah. So, and I think spirituality is something similar to that. It's kind of like, or at the very least, it's bridging a gap there. So it's, you kind of, you feel it, and it's as obvious to you as when you're in love. It's like, oh, I'm in love. This is what people were talking about. This is what Disney was trying to sell me. I'm in love. And then and when you get that spiritual feeling, it's like, oh right, it's kind of obvious now, isn't it? So I forgot what was the question? I feel like I waffled now.
There was no question. We were just talking about different stuff.
But I still have my thing.
Yeah, we've not forgotten about your post-it note, Rach. She's mad keen to talk about what's on this post-it note.
Yeah, your listeners will be too, because you can't answer this.
I know, question. Sweetheart. I know. Don't rub it in. Don't
I'm sorry.
Mean about it. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely finish the book, man, and I'll let you know when I've done it. Yeah. But I really enjoyed it so far. I think I'm probably about I think I'm at least halfway through it or something like that. But yeah, when you sent it to me, I like read the first like 3 or 4 chapters in about an hour. I was like, just because I was really into it.
That's cool. My other question, do we still have time?
Yeah, go for it, mate. Go.
Yeah, sure. So this is actually what you mentioned already. I'm really fascinated about the moment which you described in the very, very much earlier. Sorry, my English isn't my first language. In the much earlier video where you talked about your mushroom trip, and then not so long ago when you talked about the ayahuasca trip, the deepest you've ever gone, as you call it. So, and this, when you met the star makers, or during the mushrooms, you remember as well?
Yeah.
Someone like
that? Well, I'd say that the mushroom one felt more like highly advanced people.
Right.
Whereas the ayahuasca one felt like literal kind of gods. It was very out there. But yeah, do carry on.
Yeah, my question is a bit outlandish, but I was wondering, what does it mean for you? I mean, because there will be people who would say, okay, so that's literally our potential. That's who we are really, but we're just close in meat, and that's why it doesn't work. Some people will say that, oh yeah, we can become like that, and some others will say, oh, that's just like Jungian archetypes of, What would you say? What did it mean to you?
Okay, this is a juicy one. So let me say, I do notice that on this call there's someone from the Discord community, someone called Shent, who I love having. We have these kind of like ideological sparring matches, and I can see he's listening in now, so he's probably going to rip me a new asshole for what I'm about to say. Oh, no. But Shen, I love you and appreciate you, mate. But okay, so if you're asking like for like completely, and I'll just reiterate what I always say. I don't necessarily plant my flag in any of these things. I'm open to it all. I don't particularly care. What's most important to me is the human experience. But
I understood that already.
Yeah. But since you asked the question, like, okay, what do I think could be going on here? What seems to gel the most with me at the moment is that like consciousness, mind, is some kind of fundamental feature of the universe, in the same way that kind of like gravity or the nuclear forces, there is a you could think of it as a field of mind just permeating through the entirety of the universe, and we, like a rock or a piece or something with mass interacts with space-time to produce gravity, we are interacting with this this field of mind, and it is giving us this experience of me as an individual. But
yes,
the whole is there. So the rock is not, the gravity coming from the rock is not all there is of gravity. It is a part of a bit much larger field. I think that Rob and Rachel are interactions with a field of mind that is just kind of like permeating the universe. And then when you take something like psychedelics or have some sort of mystic experience and you get these feelings of unity or these feelings of, merging back with the whole, that to me is a satisfactory explanation of why it feels like that, because that is what is kind of happening in that case. Your experience is merging back or having higher access to this field of mind. That is what is as kind of what I have experienced within my psychedelics. That's what it kind of like, it has been explained to me as that. And
what I think right now sounds a lot more like, your experience with 5-MeO, DMT or something like that, but multiple entities doing that kind of stuff. Like, do you interpret it in the same way as just being a symbol of the field of mind?
Yeah, I mean, let's see, how can I go into this without sort of like put it? So yeah, I think of it as a network. You could think of this as something along the lines like of a kind of the root systems of plants and stuff like that. Yeah. So if you went into the soil, then what you would find is individual plants with kind of individual roots, having their own instance of a plant, but they are part of a superorganism of the forest. of the jungle, of the planet, you know. So there are individuals, and there is a whole, I think, and this is a kind of like an analogy for what I think is going on here. There is this instance of Rob, which is part of a network of this, you know, I am you could call it a node or an instance or whatever of this field of consciousness. And I think there are levels between that. So there are parts where, I mean, there's clearly this part here where I am in the meat suit and I'm interacting like this and interacting like this. And then there's parts where that, you know, that ego or that spirit or whatever you want to call it can sort of, you know, have these boundary dissolution and merge with other spirits, and that's where you get these feelings of, you know, of entities and stuff like that, where it still feels like complete separate beings, yeah, but happening within this kind of like psychedelic realm. And then there's you know, there's other experiences beyond that, places where you know, it does feel sort of much more like cosmic, and eventually you know, there is this non-dual experience where there's only one experience, you know, where you are just all your experiences is the mind, the field. The field is its purest level before there's any fragmentation into instances. So, yes. And I think that's the non-dual kind of 5-MeO experience, or you know, or people refer to it the kind of the God experience. No, I've really thought about it enough to sort of like know, like, you know, put this into any kind of like hierarchy or anything like that. That's how I've experienced it. And I would still fall back on the, you know, thing I always say is like, is it true? You know, I kind of hope so, because it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't?
But I don't plant a flag there. But do you have anything you want to contribute on that? What do you think is going on in the wide world of psychedelia?
That's a really big one to unpack. I think you've done a good explanation on that.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't think I have anything to add.
Okay. Are we aligned? Are we on the same? We're aligned. We're aligned. We're doing that alignment thing. So yeah, I
don't think I could have said it better.
For me, it was always, you know, I don't either really believe in anything, because, I mean, fundamentally I believe in evidence, you know, so if there is something like that, there is a question, is it real? Of course, I do hope it is, but then just speculatively, is that the right word?
Yeah, I think it's a good word.
I can't say that word. Speculatively.
Speculatively, yeah, right. Yeah. We are all together. So
great, better than me.
So
yeah, but
speculatively.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, please.
No, I was just going to say, I think when people like get hung up on the like the evidence part of it, it's not important right now, because it's not something you can do anything about. And I think it's definitely worth. I mean, I love having conversations like this where you can talk about it and explore it. That's the value in it. The need to be able to prove it or say something conclusive about it right now, I think that's the kind of like, that's a distraction and that's the mistake. So
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, but one thing is the need to prove it right now and, you know, to be right or something like that. Another thing is the fact that as much as it doesn't need an explanation for your experience or your, you know, life lessons, whatever you take out of it, it is kind of important, you know. If, let's say, have you read True Hallucinations by Terence McKenna?
I've not, no.
Oh well, that's another lecture. Maybe you will enjoy it. It's a bit out like really far out there, but he was basically kind of doing his own personal pursuit of what he called the Philosopher's Stone, or actually no.
Yeah, I'm aware of the experiments at La Chorrera stuff.
Yeah, the things, you know, when there is this, yeah, whatever externalized what the fabric of reality he was, you know, you could control it. And I remember a lot of his speeches when he was talking about it, that, you know, basically it would be anything you wish. And yeah, I guess as much as it doesn't matter to explain it right now, it really matters if there is anything in that, because, you know, if there is, just imagine, I mean, that would change the world. Of course, it's really far out, it's outlandish, it's improbable, but it's, to me, it's always like a good question if there's anything true about that.
Yeah, I think, again, I know I think maybe sometimes people get sort of the wrong idea when I say this thing around like what's important is like the kind of human experience as a way of, of dismissing that. But I think, I mean, even that way, you said like, so something that would fundamentally change reality. And I think this, to me, this is kind of along the thinking of like that, having a Lamborghini will change your reality or something like that. It's the reality that we're having. It's in fact, in whatever way that reality changes, it's still going to center around some kind of experience that is happening. So even if if the rules of reality just re-rolled right now, then at some point it's a thing having an experience. And the way I see it is like what is going on now with this human experience that we're having. That's that's the task at hand, and it's
that's right. Yeah.
Whatever changes, whether UFOs appear or the portals of between dimensions, it's still like, or even if I drop dead tomorrow, what's kind of important? Okay. Oh, okay. so yeah, it's still going to be like this nugget of experience is important. It's important, and its importance comes from what you get out of it. So I think anything else beyond that it really is a distraction. And I think even Terence kind of recognised this with a lot of his stuff around Time Wave Zero and the Philosopher's Stone and stuff like that. It's not going to change anything about this experience you're having. Like no matter how cool, how bonkers it is, and if it's all true anyway, it's going to happen. It's going to happen anyway. When you die, or when you move on to the next phase, or whatever is going on, whether there's parallel universes going on right now, it's all going to happen anyway. So there's no need to try and put too much energy into, things like the Philosopher's Stone, or singing objects into existence through certain frequencies and harmonies. And it's cool. It's definitely cool to discuss. I'm not dismissing it at all, but I just don't think it's. Well, I would put my efforts into this.
I agree that it doesn't change the fact that that life is about experience, and it's basically like a storytelling. That's what matters. But then, on the other hand, as much as you say that a psychedelic experience, yes, it does change your life as much as going onto the orbit and looking at the Earth and stuff like that. I guess just knowing what world you are living in, right? Is it a world? A kind of more nihilistic world where you just turn into sand and that's it, or there is a minefield, or there is afterlife, or Philosopher's Stone, or I guess it changes your experience, it changes your story, knowing where you live. But of course, no pressure. We are not gonna know it anytime soon, probably.
Yeah, well, I guess it does if you can get meaning from it, because that's what I think it all boils into. Is like, what does this mean? And you can see this for yourself. You can see people who have fairly extraordinary belief systems, whether it's kind of like religious belief systems, or whether they're just kind of what we would say is people who are insane or whatever. And you can see that people who are like camping out at Area 51 trying to spot UFOs or whatever like that, or people who are deep into like say flat Earth or something like that. You can see people who truly believe something extraordinary and get zero meaning from it. In fact, you could see that it's actually just a distraction in their life. There is nothing. I've yet to see someone who is into flat Earth who seems like they're having like a super awesome life because of flat Earth, right? It's always seems like something that completely fucks up. You can even take some more extreme examples. Going along the lines like white supremacy or any kind of supremacy for that matter. Like where it's like if the belief of something or the knowledge, the thing, something that feels sacred to you, doesn't necessarily make your life better unless you can get some kind of like unless what meaning does it actually bring to you. So like flat Earth, like fine, the Earth's flat. What. Yeah, right. So what?
I really agree with you. I mean, for me, as even like again quoting Terence McKenna when he said that one sentence, I cannot agree personally. I cannot agree more with when he said belief is toxic, unless there are moments which in my life I remember as well. I was very very believing in in the past, and belief can get you high for a moment when it just makes everything, it's just like falling in love, you know. Everything is just beautiful, but in the end of the day, it is kind of toxic. I mean, in my opinion,
it
doesn't change much.
Yeah, it can be if all that there is just this belief and this kind of confidence in that belief, and it doesn't add any meaning. I would say belief without meaning is completely toxic. I mean, just look at, you know, a lot of people who claim to be like, you know, good, faithful Christians and just manifest zero behavior of any you know, they're just assholes.
I mean, even if you look in the psychedelic community,
for sure,
the people who killed their egos, that just up their ass completely.
Listen, mate, you don't have to tell me. I deal with them on a daily basis.
I mean, recently I have a lot of free time and I spend it on Reddit way too much. And that just gets me, you know, boiling every time I see that person who is like, guys, I got it, I can escape the matrix, I will teach you.
I would say the psychonaut.
Listen to me. That means you're stuck in your ego still. You're not ready for my wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, this is very much the kind of like a lot of the falling outside with the kind of like the actualized guys, because this is exactly what they sort of state. It's like, if you don't agree with everything I say, then that's just you being unenlightened.
Yeah, that's your ego,
Yeah. And but the behavior they manifest is just arsehole behavior. So there's not much. I would say if you can't get any meaning from it and display any positivity to it, then whatever you believe is probably worthless.
Yeah, I do agree. But anyway, I don't want to push my luck too much.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
It's just such a pleasure to talk with you.
Likewise, mate. And I'll let you know once I finish the book.
Oh yeah, please, or maybe I will just ask you like. Another call.
All right, dude. Take care.
Yeah, thank you.
Okie dokie.
Bye.
So we'll get on to Rachel's post-it note now, and then I'll see. There we go. Got anybody else waiting? Nope. Okay, so Rach, what is on this post-it note? What is it you want to share with everyone?
Well, guys, it's more of a question for you lot, really, because I know that Rob gets asked a lot of questions about cannabis and about the healing properties of this plant medicine. And Rob just doesn't seem to get on with it. It just puts him to sleep and
makes me throw up.
However, I do really, really like it. And I've found that since having taken ayahuasca, that the marijuana experience is completely changed. It's a lot more spiritual than it was before. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, you know, I'll sit and watch PewDiePie play fucking Goat Simulator and laugh my ass off and just be a stoner. But other times I'll have a very, very spiritual experience. And my most recent experience was one of such. And this goes back to recently my uses with this plant medicine have been helping me to learn to love myself. And in my experience, it's because, from my subjective experience, I like to call her MJ. She is female, and obviously I have issues with loving myself as a female. She loves herself as a female, like loves herself, like histrionically. What's the word? Like, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Holistically?
No, like. Just like super into pleasure, like just loving.
Oh, hedonistically.
It's hedonism. Almost hedonism-like, which can be a bit. You've got to keep a lid on that, as it can be dangerous being too hedonistic. But she is like that to me, and she loves herself so much. But she is me, so that and I love that about her, that she can love herself so much. And because I love that about her, that means that I love myself, if that makes sense. So she's teaching me to love myself in that way. That's one of the few things that I can remember about this last very, very, very spiritual experience I had. It wasn't intentional. I didn't sit down to have a spiritual experience. I just wanted, I've got a big uni assignment on. I was like, I just need to chill out. I think I deserve this. And it just turned into a ceremony. The things that that I think marijuana, cannabis, it has a great potential as a plant medicine. But obviously I've never done it in a setting with, you know, a shaman or an equivalent. And I think that's really, it could be, if there isn't already, if there is, I would like to be guided to them. If there isn't, then I think there really should be, because doing it by yourself is obviously, it's like trying to drink ayahuasca on your own without a shaman, and you know, it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, right? So I'm kind of struggling here on my own, realizing that I've been given this gift of work for my spiritual growth through cannabis, and a lot of the time, because I've got no one to hold the space for me, I'm doing it on my own, right? The space isn't held, so the space just flies everywhere, and I lose most of it. I forget most of it in the morning, and that's a really, really great shame, because so much of it could be so useful.
Can I do a bit of a devil's advocate thing here?
Of course, you can. Yeah, I think I've said everything I was going to say about it now.
Okay,
because,
so we've got a couple.
What I want is like feedback and help from people who.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of calls, so we'll get to them in a second. But let me just pass out a couple of things. So, what would you say is the kind of you talked around, kind of like the spirit of cannabis, MJ as you referred to it.
I would say, yeah. When it gets spiritual, I like to call it MJ.
Okay, and that this is it's a very hedonistic thing, and there's something attractive in that hedonism, because this is what you're struggling with. You struggle with the kind of allowing this kind of hedonism. So, what's the line between just this kind of embracing this total hedonism and sort of, you know, I suppose if we took that to an extreme, why not just take heroin and just collapse on a mattress somewhere? And because that's also just complete hedonism. I also, can I just say, just before we get into the response here, can I say a big thank you to David Gallick, who just sent us a super chat. So thank you very much.
Thanks, David.
We appreciate that,
Thank
mate.
you.
Okay, so let's get back to weed versus heroin.
Is that another one, or is it the same
That's
one?
the same one. That's David. Thanks, David.
Thanks, David. Again.
So yeah, so like, I'm trying. What I'm trying to get to is like, I can see. I mean, I'm totally with you. I'm just wondering, like, is this a potential line to walk between this kind of like, everything? Oh, let me embrace me and this sort of like, you know, the hedonism of me, because this is me, and I see you doing this, and I'm so glad that you have these experiences of where you are kind of like just loving life and manifesting it. But then there is, I guess, I also have the concern around the potential for that kind of like addictive behavior, where it's then like, I just want this all the time.
Yes,
like
I think I knew you were going to say that, and I did want to, when I said earlier that, you know, you've got to be careful with hedonism. This is the other reason why I think you need a shaman present to hold that space for you and not let that take over. Sorry, I can hear my own voice. So
I suppose that's a question we can put out there. Is anybody aware of any kind of like, because we're not, are we? Like, is there a shamanistic practice anyone's
or
aware?
any kind of
framework, I guess,
whereby you can use cannabis for spiritual purposes of growth, with someone who is able to hold the space, someone qualified to hold that space, because my concern is the same thing as yours. There is a risk, and I know it's there with this teaching me how to love myself and being. It is very, very histrionic, hedonistic.
Histrionic. It's a new word.
I don't know. I think I don't
hedonistic.
Hedonistic. And I know, and I do have a bit of a addictive personality. There is definitely a risk there of getting addicted to weed, and I know people who have been addicted to weed, and I don't want that to happen, because it does have a beautiful potential, and I would like to be able to use that potential, but I think I need
A framework.
A framework,
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
to hold the space, or you know, if anyone more experienced than I am has any, you know, input into how you can.
Yes. So basically, if anyone's got any
Lock
tips for kind of a framework based around cannabis, then just drop us a comment in below. We'd love to hear about it because it's something Rachel's interested in exploring. See, there's a few people who've got their hands up here, so I'm going to go back to callers, and the next one would be my old mate Jimmy from Philly. So Jimmy, you're in for a treat, Rach, with Jimmy.
What's up, Rob?
Hey Jimmy, how you doing?
You know, I'm a little depressed actually.
What's up, mate? You were really up last time I spoke because you started.
I was flying high, and I think what goes up must come down. Yeah.
It does, mate. When you've always got to find that balance. But what happened, mate? What sort of is there something specific event?
You know, I had a lot of bullshit going on when I had like that spiritual experience hiking, and none of that bothered me then. I'm surprised that it didn't. A very positive attitude, and just lately, I noticed that it's dissipated, and now it's, you know, I don't know, it's not as good. Not as good.
I think
if you're super positive, I think that's going to drop over, at some point. You know what I mean?
It's got to do, mate. I mean, and this is kind of one of the. If you ever hear people like referring to kind of like integration, this is what they're talking about. In that, when you have whatever experience it is, you're not always going to be in the kind of like the super happy place. And just because you feel like you're at that at the moment, it's never going to last. So you have to be able to sort of integrate those experiences and balance your life, and basically just be able to accept that, you know, you are a human being and that you are having this spectrum of experiences, and that includes everything from that, you know, the most amazing sort of spiritual highs, which it sounds like what you were experiencing when you were doing hiking, through to feelings of, you know, loneliness, abandonment, anger, you know, hate. These are all part of the same package. You're never going to get away from it. But and the trick is to just be able to accept that and like not treat them like a pathology. Like if you're feeling bummed out, Jimmy, and I appreciate this is counterintuitive, but it's not wrong, mate. There's not a pathology. Sometimes you will be bummed out. Sometimes, you know,
right,
shit gets on top of you, and don't let that sort of kind of accept it for what it is and let it go through whatever process it needs to go through. But don't sort of like feel like, oh, well, that's all the good times have gone away now. It's like, no, it's part of the experience. They'll be back, and when they come back at some point, the bad times will come back. You just have to sort of balance it all out, mate. And I know it's a lot trickier than what I'm saying. I fully appreciate that. But this is where these kind of like these practices sort of come into place, like things like meditation and sort of yoga, and even what you do, mate. I mean, are you still hiking?
I haven't hiked in about a week, and I just didn't feel like doing it. Where before I was chomping at the bit to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't tripped until I think I didn't trip for almost a month, and then I tripped the other night. But prior to that, I was tripping every week for like almost 3 years. So maybe that's a little of that too. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of telling you something. I mean, that's very common. You know, you have an experience, and maybe that experience doesn't go the way you wanted it to, or maybe you had a certain expectation around it, and then you just feel fucking completely bummed out, and you don't want to do these things anymore, and you kind of like feel, oh, like fuck, I don't want. And I think that the one of the things to do here is it's probably best to sort of make yourself do it, Jimmy. Just get out there in sort of, even though you might not feel like going for a hike or something.
Right, exactly. Yes, I was actually going to say that. Force yourself to listen to music, to stream, to, you know. But
also, I would say, I would like to say, you know, don't ignore these feelings because they are trying to tell you something. You know, try to feel them holistically. Was it Sam Harris who taught us this? Like how to, you know, if you have like a bad feeling, whether it's emotional or physical, look at it. Try to explain, you know, describe it to your, I can hear myself in these earphones. Okay. Like try to describe it, find it, like where it's coming from, and don't just push it to one side because there'll be a reason it's there.
Yeah, something in you is trying to go through a process. So if I'll relate this to one of my own kind of anecdotes, like I've talked a lot about the feelings that come to me from my mother's suicide or whatever. Now I could just sort of go through my life and like ignore those feelings, and when I tried to face those feelings, it was painful, it was emotional, it was painful, it was disturbing. I didn't want to deal with it, but I kind of recognized that it's trying to tell me something. It was trying to tell me I needed to grieve over the loss of my parent, and so I had to kind of like face that down. So, and what that kind of, in practical terms, what that meant was doing just like what Rachel just described, like something like, okay, I intuitively know that I feel bad today. How do I feel bad? Like, let me like try and examine it. Like, okay, I feel fucking pissed off. I feel fucking angry.
Look for it in your body. You said as well. Where is it? Where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your belly? Do you feel it in your head? Like,
Well, when it really started, like I used to hike and then end up at this dive bar in Philly, and one of the bartenders says to me, she serves me drinks, she kind of is sarcastic with me, and then she says, why don't you just drink that and go? We don't mesh. I'm like, I gotta fucking mesh with you? And I just stormed out. Now, I don't know why I got really angry, and I stayed angry, and I started to ruminate on it. You know what I mean? Like, it just, like it's a dive bar. I ain't the worst to walk through them doors, believe me.
Mm-hmm.
But, it just angered me more than it should have.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing to consider with something like that, Jimmy, is just always, and again, it's a lot easier said than done, but just try and just think for a moment, that person, whatever's going on, and what she's saying like that, to kind of like to put distance between you, was kind of out of order and probably unnecessary, but something was going on with that person. That was a human being having a shitty experience, and they were probably venting it on you. And like, you were just there for the bar, there for the company. You weren't meaning any harm probably, but someone's just like, and that rejection of someone forcing that distance between you was, I mean, you probably don't like the word, but like it's triggered you. It's like, it's because like, well, fuck you. I came to you. I didn't want anything. I was just trying to hang out. I was just trying to be friendly, and you fucking treat me like this. Fuck you, you fucking bitch. But I think it's probably
it could have been. You don't know why she did that.
I threw the C word at her, so I don't think I'm going back there anytime soon.
Well, that's an interesting thing about the difference between like sort of like the UK where we're from and the States, because the what you would say like the C word, we throw into like conversation every other sentence.
I just called you a cunt before.
Yeah, she calls me a cunt all the time. Like, so yeah.
You say that to a woman here, it's like dropping a nuclear bomb on her.
Well, I know, but when the first time I ever said that to American, I had no idea that it was such a something word, the C word. So yeah, we say it.
He had it coming.
Well, I mean, if someone was being an arse with you, then at that point I don't elevate certain curse words or stuff. It's like if she's being a cunt, then she's being a cunt, and it's kind of different in our neck of the woods. But yeah, man, I think maybe that's the thing. Just try and look and see like why did that affect you so badly, and it may be because she was like just being unnecessarily aggressive to your attempt at connection. Maybe that's telling you want to be more, you want to be around people more. Because I know you spent. Like from listening to you talk, you are a very independent character, and you do sort of pride yourself on that. But maybe you're at a point in your life where you want to sort of maybe, not have to be so independent, not have to be so strong, and sort of. It doesn't mean becoming weak or anything, Jimmy. It just means about you want to maybe share that experience with other people. And when she rejected that, it just completely pissed you off, and rightfully so, mate.
Ginger beer is really good.
Yeah, I was in a good mood until she pulled that stunt,
Yeah, what I would say, mate, is don't let it derail you. Just sort of have a think about sort of, maybe like why it was. Just try and find like the truth within yourself of why it sort of upset you so much, but still don't let it take you away from your hiking and stuff. You sounded so upbeat last time, Jimmy.
Well, no.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go on, mate.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, just maybe think about why it caused you so much pain. Yeah, but don't wallow in it either. Have a think about it. Either find some answers or get nowhere. But after that, let it wash over you. Don't like I'm kind of just repeating what Rob said. Don't let it get to you. Don't let it stop you doing your hiking and things you enjoy. If someone's been a cunt with you, yeah, give it some thought. Give it some thought about why it's getting to you so much, and then you can either work on that, or if you can't get anywhere, then that's okay as well. But after you've done that, then let it wash over you. Try to let it just wash over you. Okay, she was a cunt. It's washed over me. I'm going to go hiking, and I'm going to do it even if I don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. And I've done that this week. I've done that with I've had a difficult week, challenging week, shall I say? And one day a very, very good friend of mine advised me to get myself up one of these. We've got a lot of hills in Switzerland. I climbed 150 meters altitude in like 20 minutes. It killed me. Then I came back down and I felt so much better,
So yeah, I mean, I think there's something I was listening to recently. I was listening to a lecture on stuff like this. When you get into these thought loops, and you get into these, when we think of thought loops, it's not necessarily like hearing a song over and over in your head. Sometimes it's an emotional kind of thought loop, and it's just staying with you. And the kind of thing is, spot when that's happening, and then once it's happening, and you've learned what you can learn from it. So it's like, okay, I'm hurt, I'm upset. I think I know why. Enough. I've heard this before. I don't need to keep telling myself. That I'm pissed off. I know I'm pissed off.
Right.
I'm going to learn that lesson from it. Enough. And so it's not this kind of sweeping things under the rug. It's not dismissing them. It's just being in control of your own sort of thoughts. Of like, okay, I hear you. I've listened and I've heard. It's time to move on. And then just kind of pick yourself up. So I hope there's something helpful in there, mate. Because I'd hate to hear that you're having a shitty time.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll come out of it. And another thing happened. Like what I thought was a friend in my chat. Shockingly, it's another woman. But she kind of betrayed me and talked to me like a dog. And then when I talked to her like a dog, that was the problem. It wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, it was okay for her to do that, but when I did it back, that was the problem. Like, never mind that she came on my live stream and talked to me like shit in front of my whole audience, and I was still willing to forgive it. And then she pulled the silent treatment for 2 days. I'm trying to straighten it out, trying to figure out why she did that, and then I sent her a couple mean texts, and that was the worst thing ever.
Yeah, but I think if you don't mind asking, like, how did you feel about sending those mean texts? I mean, did it make? I'm sure at the time it made you feel
fucking good.
I bet it did at the time. How do you feel about it now? Like, would you do it again right now?
Goddamn right I would.
Well, that's because you're. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with when someone is wronging you, someone's being a dick, then tell
someone's being a cunt.
When someone's being a cunt, thank you, Rachel. And Rachel's allowed to say that because she's a lady. but yeah, then tell them to fuck off. But I would say don't ever let your spite and malice sort of take over you. Yeah. Like, don't get lost in it, because that then can start.
It can hurt you.
Yeah, exactly. It can take away from you.
She's actually been very good to me. Her and her husband, they've sent me things, and they sent me a headset. And she comes on to the invite link, like, I'm the one to put that headset on your head. I'm like, what? And then the other day, I threw the headset at the laptop, and I messed up my screen. So now I got to fix the laptop.
Is it? Do you think maybe she's trying to, like, sort of feels that you owe her something because they sent you the headset or something like that.
Yeah, I think she thinks that maybe she owns me a little bit or something.
Yeah, I mean the way I would sort of deal with something like that is just say, just be like, say, you got my thanks and my gratitude for this gift, and I will receive it as a gift. And that's it. That's the end of, anything that anybody sends to me, and I appreciate all the sort of the things that people send to me, like by Patreon, or when people send. But don't have any expectations over like owning me. This is my hobby. This is what I do, and I'm grateful for the interaction I have with you. But yeah, you don't own me or my life, or you're like, that's. So yeah, I think some people don't get a bit confused with that kind of relationship, isn't it?
And also remember.
Well, you know what? I really liked her quite a bit as a friend. And see, what happened is I have these sock accounts on my channel, and he infiltrated. I stupidly gave him a mod, so I killed all the mods. And then the next show I did, she suggested I give her a mod. I said, well, I got to verify who you are, and she just went nuts, like, you don't trust me, this and that. I'm like, what? Were you just listening to what the fuck I just said? Wouldn't it be stupid to give the first mod to the guy that's impersonating everybody? You know what I mean? And she just went on, and it was completely irrational. Like, there was nothing that I said that would lead her to believe that.
Well, I mean, it answers your question straight away about like, would it have been a good idea to make this person a mod? I mean, if someone's asking for that kind of power, that's usually like a red flag sort of thing.
Well, no, she was a mod before, and I do trust her, but because I said I got to verify that it's her, because I didn't know if it was this side impersonating her.
Yeah.
Then she got like crazy. I'm like, it isn't about not trusting you; it's about not trusting this idiot.
Yeah.
But she got offended, and there was no reasoning with her. And then she came on the invite like, I'm the one that put that headset on your head. I'm like, what?
Well, maybe just explain to like it's nothing personal, but it's. I mean, that's just kind of like due diligence, isn't it? You've just got to you're making sure that a person is who they say they are.
Yeah, I mean, it just it's kind of like a betrayal, and I don't handle betrayal real well.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Oh, I know, man, and I know you've had.
I'm sure I'll come up out of it.
Yeah, and I know you've had like a lot, people sort of shit on you in the past. So I do hope you come out of it. I'm going to have to sort of move on to you because we're going to wrap this stream up shortly. And I've got a couple more people to get to, but I hope you're doing all right, mate. Sure. And I'll speak to you next time. Yeah.
Good talking to you.
All right, dude. Bye.
Have a good.
Okay, so Rachel's writing me new post-it notes telling me that she's hungry. And so food is important for Rachel because, as we mentioned, she has troubles with eating disorders. So, but we've got a couple of people left, so we'll just try and get some. So I think the next one we'll go to is Mighty Quinn. Or do you want to go and get some food and I'll.
And you want to continue?
Or can you wait 15 minutes?
Either.
Okay, let's try and get through next people.
If you want to carry on, then I'll just go.
We'll see if we can do the next two people in 15 minutes. I think that's reasonable. Yeah. So, Mighty
Quinn. This.
Yeah, me too. Doing all right. We're a bit of a married couple-y shit. I like psychedelic married couple stuff. So, Mighty Quinn, are you there, mate?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. And you?
Yeah, so I just had a couple of questions. First of all, I want to give you guys so much credit because I've done so much research, and you guys have totally turned me on to how to do certain things.
Oh, that's it, mate.
Yeah, so I want to ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
I've got DMT in my possession, and I'm just so scared to do it. And one of the questions I have is that you mentioned that certainly, like, when you go into the DMT realm, it seems like it lasts thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
How do you come back from that, knowing that you've lived thousands of lives?
I mean, it's kind of shocking, to be honest, but it's also incredible. I mean, I was fortunate that when I've had those experiences, they've been extremely positive experience. So it was like I came back with an absolute sense of just awe and amazement. But it is also kind of shocking because when I make fun of this in some of my videos, but when you have an experience of being a comet flying around the universe, and then suddenly you kind of like
Great
open
video,
your
by the
eyes.
way.
Oh, cheers, dude. But then when you open your eyes and realize like you're a lump of monkey meat, it's kind of fucking showing you like, what the fuck is this? Like
I would say the same also. Like I've had the experience too where on DMT it feels like you're living thousands of years and going through different lives and stuff, and that sounds like something very heavy burden to carry, 1,000 people's memories, and like it's just something that your brain could not contain all that information, right? But the experience remains as an experience, but the details and everything don't, in my experience. So if that makes sense. So I come out of it,
that's a good point.
and I tend to the sensation for me coming out of a deep DMT experience or 5-MeO is a little bit like coming around from a general anesthesia. It's like, it just takes a few minutes of like, what the fuck? Right, here I am. This is it. And then then all that any burden of that has gone, but you still hold it dear and remember it.
Yeah, I think an analogy I would use here is something like when you go and see a movie. Yeah, so you go and watch a movie, like you go and watch, I don't know, what was last, we watched The Batman. I watched The Batman, you didn't. Okay, so you go and watch a movie, and then you've got a memory and a recollection of that movie. Now, if I recall a scene from that movie, I don't recall the full 3-hour movies. In fact, I don't even recall the 5-hour scene. It just kind of comes to you as a memory. It's like it's left an impression upon you without you having to go through all the data. So when you come back from one of these DMT experiences or any other psychedelic, where you've had this kind of feeling of multiple lifetimes, multiple timelines over extended timelines, perhaps going back into your own history of ancestors and going forward, all this kind of stuff, then you don't recall it and like, okay, here's day 1, 24 hours.
Yeah, you're not burdened with thousands of years of memories.
Yeah, it's like the movie. It's just kind of like, I now know what it is like to have watched The Matrix without replaying The Matrix in my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It totally does, and that gives me some clarity because I was so scared to do it because I would be, oh man, if I came back and I didn't recognize anybody or like my loved ones, I didn't know who they were, so that was so scary to me. I appreciate that. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, to be scared of it, I think it's a completely natural experience, and
I think you should be.
Yeah,
I think you're not taking it seriously.
I've yet to do it, and I'm very scared, but I know I want to take that leap. I mean,
you're re-rolling the parameters of reality. That's nothing to be taken lightly. It does mean the potential for amazing, extraordinary experiences is there, and I think they're worth having. But yeah, I mean, I would say there would be something wrong with you if you weren't scared. I mean, it's kind of like, it's like jumping off the tallest diving board when you're a kid.
Nothing wrong with you. It's just that you're not taking it very seriously if you're not scared.
Yeah.
You're treating it recreationally.
Yeah. So I think it shows the kind of the respect and the gravity, that you understand the gravity of what it is you're about to partake in. But yeah, mate, I mean, all I can say is just don't be too sort of hard on yourself about feeling scared. Just find the right sort of moment. Find when you've got that sort of, that moment of sort of courage, and then sort of when you're ready in your own time, just take the step and see what's on the other side.
Well, I appreciate that. So can I ask you another question just in regards to...
Sure.
It's kind of funny because looking on YouTube, I've done tons of research, and I always find you when I see DMT research. Why do you think it is that maybe YouTube hasn't blocked you in regards to the type of videos you do, considering the gravity of it? And do you think, in fact, that there's going to be a great future for psychedelics and psychonauts and what you're doing?
Yeah, my experience with YouTube has been very positive. I know there's people out there who say that there's some kind of conspiracy against sort of talking about these substances. I don't believe that for a second. I think YouTube has been... I've had interactions with YouTube about my videos. Sometimes my videos get pulled, and I understand, I understand we're walking a fine line here of stuff that is potentially illegal, but I think the evidence is as clear as day that there is not a agenda against psychedelics on YouTube. It's just by the fact that my channel exists, that Psych Substance channel exists, that the Drugs Lab. Clearly, if YouTube wanted to,
they shall not be named.
Yeah. So if they wanted to, YouTube could clearly.
Yeah, Adam's channel's cool, by the way.
Yeah. So that YouTube could squash this whole thing like a bug if they wanted to, like
and
that.
They don't.
And they don't. So clearly, there's no. I think the evidence is that there's no agenda, and I would like to think that the way that I talk about these substances is, I'm not encouraging people to do dangerous things. I'm not making sort of false promises about things. I'm basically I'm making a blog about my own experience and my own thoughts within my head. And as with Rich.
And by the way, it's been very helpful for a lot of people, especially myself, because it is scary, and delving into it, it helps to watch videos like yours.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I would hope that that's the reason why YouTube is, I wouldn't go as far as say they support it, but they're not against it. And I think we are probably heading to a sort of a state where these things are becoming legalized all over the place. It would not I would never dreamed when I was a teenager that we would even see weed legalized in my lifetime. The fact that we're seeing things like sort of, magic mushrooms being legalized and stuff like that, it blows my mind. So I think it's not impossible that we are heading to a state where this is just not going to be a big deal at all to talk about these things. And I think until we get there, then there's some tricky ground to navigate. And as I say, I have had videos get pulled from YouTube, stuff which I didn't think was necessarily needed to be pulled. But I understand that they are treading a fine line, and and the fact that they allow me to, a lot of my videos, that they are completely fine with it, and some of them seem to be pushed by the algorithm. My last DMT videos had like extraordinarily good response to it. So yeah, I think that it seems obvious to me there's not an agenda, and I think with psychedelics where people are saying, hey, this video didn't do as well as this one, it's YouTube's blocking it. Just as different trends, and some topics get more attention than others, and that's just fine. So, but for me, I'm super grateful that I could do any of what I've done via YouTube. So, I think on that, I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I agree, and I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no worries.
Great responses. I appreciate you listening to me, and you do great work.
Well,
Thank you.
I appreciate you listening to us, mate. So.
Thank you.
Thanks. So right, we'll just get on to the last caller now.
I gotta pee. Can I quick go pee?
Rachel needs to pee, so you.
I just whispered that. And you
oh
told
right.
me.
Okay. So
I'll be really
you can pee, and I'll get on to the.
Okay.
So I am just going to take one more, and that was Earthworm, who was waiting. So this is going to be the last one I'm going to be able to do, and I see there's somebody else who was waiting, but I'm really sorry, but we can only do one more because Rachel's hungry. So. Earthworm. Oh, it's not Earthworm, it's Earthworth. Hello, you there, mate?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you clear, mate.
Okay, great. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be on with you again. It's been a couple of months, I think, since the last time we spoke, maybe even more. But yeah, I really appreciate it. The reason that I jumped up was actually in relation to what Rachel had been inquiring about in terms of a framework for work with cannabis.
Okay.
And, so yeah, there's various practitioners that are helping to heal trauma. I mean, PTSD, all kinds of stuff that that we've seen stuff with. As in regards to like MDMA and psilocybin and stuff like that, but it seems like the cannabis-assisted psychotherapy kind of stuff, and it's really somatic therapy. It hasn't seen as much press or media publication, whatever you want to call it. So not as much exposure as these other entheogens or psychedelics, whatever. So.
If we can just pause you a second because Rachel's just coming back now. So so Earthworth is telling us that they know somebody who does like a framework for.
Oh, brilliant!
So is this something that's happens near you, or is there some details you could send us about this, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's definitely connect offline. You want to send me a message, or I'll send you a message, or whatever, and I'll fill you guys in on all that stuff.
Yeah, or if you'd ping me an email, my email address, it's in the profile page on YouTube, but it's adeptuspsychonautica@gmail.com. So adeptuspsychonautica, all one word, @gmail.com. Just send me an email, and we would be so grateful. Like I said, Rachel's really looking for this kind of thing.
Really, thank you so much.
Absolutely,
Sorry, I missed that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. It is truly mind blowing. I mean, especially just the relationship, the ability for cannabis, which again is something that a lot of people view as a party drug, to have the ability to heal us, if that's our intention. You know, it's a lot of us in the plant medicine community don't even really consider cannabis to be in that realm of these other plant teachers, when in fact it's probably the one that we should be seeking to try first before taking a deeper plunge into some of these other ones, mainly because of the ability to access it is easier than most other plant medicines, most places in the world, right? So, so it's just it's a modality that we're just now finding out more and more about its potential to heal in all kinds of ways. Well,
I mean, any information you could send. I know you'd be stoked with that.
I really would. I totally with you on there. It's got such potential.
I'll send you an email.
Yeah, thank you. That'd be really great.
For sure. And my name's Jay, by the way.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
No problem at all. I'm sure you've been on the call for a while, so I'm sure you're.
Let's say send
some food. But
send us an email and we'll connect offline, mate.
That'd be great.
Cool.
Alrighty.
All right, so let's wrap this one up. So I think we're going nearly 2 hours. We're done now, and you're hungry.
Yeah.
But I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's contributed. It's always really. I know I say this all the time, and it's a bit of a cliche, but it really is great to get this chance to sort of interact with you guys, and also to interact with you. It feels like it's been ages since we did.
I know.
One of these.
It's been great being here. It's been great.
And so we'll go get.
Do you have any more? Do you want to check for any more super chats or anything?
We're best check for this. I'm a terrible host sometimes. Let's see if anyone. Just to make sure that somebody else sent us a super chat. It was Shentifire.
Thank you.
Oh my god, it's Shent. He's got right. I tell you what. Do you want to get because I'm gonna? I can't not deal with. So Shent is someone from their Discord, and he always asks. We always have these big, huge philosophical debates.
Okay, so
Shent sends us super chat, but he says, "Have you realised that solipsism is a scientific truth yet?" I think it's taking the piss there, because me and Shent have been watching some videos of someone who shall remain nameless, and so we've been sort of commenting on that. And a second question: any positive thoughts on Datura? So I did talk about this. I think it was on the last live stream, but I'll super quickly. So first of all, Shent, thanks for the super chat, and Shent, thank you for being a part of the Discord, mate. I really enjoy our conversations. I know you were asking me the other day, like do I interpret some of the things that you say as snarky? And absolutely not, mate. I love challenging conversations, so I really appreciate your presence on the Discord. Have I realised solipsism is scientific truth yet? I think you probably know the answer to that one, but no. And have I any positive thoughts on Datura? What I would say is I'm open to Datura. I don't think I know people who have had positive experiences on Datura. So while it's not, I wouldn't say it's necessarily on my timeline that I'm going to do Datura. I've kind of realised that a lot of what I thought about Datura was biased because by hearing that it's just this nightmare experience. A lot of this came from Terence McKenna, to be honest, that I picked all this up. And I've just taken that as gospel fact. And since then, I've heard other people who've had positive experiences with it. So I'm not looking to do Datura, but I'm not against Datura. So I'm open-minded, and I'll see if it sort of, if it becomes something that's on my radar. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think there's, but anyway, Shen, let's keep having the chats in the thing, and we'll come back to. I think next week we'll do the solipsism watch party. So we're doing an event on Discord whereby we watch videos and comment on them. So we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out if solipsism is true in there, Shant, and we'll suss it out, mate. And I hope you'll be a part of that. Right, everyone. So on that note, we're gonna have to wrap it up. Gonna have to get some food in the belly of my wife. So thank you all so much. Love to interact with you. And I'll probably do this again in like 2 weeks' time. Will you be here in 2 weeks' time?
I might be in England. I can't remember.
Okay.
It's 2 weeks.
In that case, it'll be me, and we'll have the camper van again. So, awesome, guys, and I forgot where the button is now that ends the stream, but I'm going to say first. So, should we say bye?
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Can't do the heart thing, but
do the hearty thing.
Trying to.
Hearty thing.
It's lovely.
Is that it?
Bye.
It looks like a kind of like
Peace
a
signs.
paw.
I can do those.
Yeah, we can do that. All right. Bye.